The third time I turned her away, she stood at the gate for 11 minutes before she left. I know because I timed it. That was the kind of man I had become after 26 years at Way Station, the kind who logs the minute and the weather and the direction of the wind off the reach because the forms require it. The gate faced east. The light came in hard and copper-colored in the early morning, and she stood in it with her neck ridged low and her clipped left wing folded tight against her flank, and she did not move for 11 minutes after I held up the board with the regulation stamp. Then she turned and walked back out into the reach, and the dust rose around her hindquarters and her tail dragged a long pale line in it, and I watched her go because I had nothing else to do and because, if I am honest, I did not feel right closing the gate while she was still in sight. The brand on her neck ridge was the issue. High up, behind the left jaw hinge, burned into the scale in the old courtmark style, a Dreveth exile sign, though I was no expert in Dreveth script. The border protocol was plain: branded dragons required a border authority clearance number before crossing. No clearance number, no crossing. The first time she came, I had explained this through the post interpreter's handbook. The second time, I had a printed copy waiting. The third time, I did not bother with the paper. She already knew the rule as well as I did. What she did not have was the clearance number. What she had, instead, was the patience of something very old and very tired and still, somehow, still trying. I filed the third refusal, stamped the gate log, and went back to my desk and ate a cold lunch and did not think about the line her tail had left in the dust. She had first appeared 9 weeks prior. She had come 3 times. 9 weeks is a long time to keep coming back to a gate that will not open. I had been at Keswick 26 years. In that time I had turned away perhaps 400 creatures on regulation grounds, wrong papers, wrong band registration, wrong species clearance. Most came back with correct documents within a fortnight. Some never came back at all. Nobody had ever come back 4 times to the same refusal with nothing new in hand except themselves. The 4th time she came, it was a Tuesday, early, before my shiftman Aldrin had finished his coffee. I was already at the gate. The Reach Road turns a long curve 3 kilometers out and you can see anything large from the guard post window, and I had been watching that curve more than I would like to admit. She came in the same way she always came, slowly, no posturing, her wings held low and the left one clamped tight as ever against her side. The copper green of her scales had dulled with travel dust. Her neck ridge brand caught the morning light and I saw it clearly even at distance. I had the board ready. I had the refusal stamp ready. Then she was close enough that I could see under the folded wing. She was carrying something. It was pressed against her lower rib line, wrapped in the clipped flight membrane of that left wing, and it was small, hatchling small, maybe 12 weeks, maybe less. Its coloring was pale gold where it was not bruised, and it was not moving in the way that healthy young things move. It was the stillness of exhaustion, not of sleep. She had been carrying it under her wing for 9 weeks of walking the reach. I put down the board. I did not think about it carefully. That is the honest answer. There was a medical hold provision in the duty handbook. I had used it once in 26 years, for a dog someone had left chained to the gate post with a broken leg. The handbook did not specify species. I wrote the hold order, pressed my stamp to it, and opened the gate. She walked through without a sound. I put them in the layover pen, the largest one, eastern-facing, with the good drainage and the hay we kept for freight animals. She set the hatchling down with a care almost unbearable to watch, an enormous creature, 4 meters at the shoulder, her whole frame going slow and deliberate the way you go slow when the thing you are holding has been held too long. The hatchling lay on the hay and breathed in shallow, rapid pulls, and when I crouched at the pen rail I could see the problem, a deep scoring along the right foreleg, old and poorly healed, gone to infection under the scale. I was not a vet. I had a first aid kit designed for humans and a reference handbook for border livestock injuries, and I used both. I cleaned the wound and packed it and used a cattle wrap bandage that was frankly too large and looked ridiculous, and the hatchling endured all of it without making a sound, its amber eyes following my hands with the fixed attention of something that had learned very early to hold still when the large things moved around it. The mother watched from the far corner of the pen. She did not crowd me. She kept her head low and her eyes on my hands with the expression of a creature that has been hoping for something a long time and is not yet certain that this is it. On day 3 the hatchling ate. On day 5 it stood. On day 8 I filed the injury report. Under the livestock category I wrote unregistered, species, draconic, reach origin, owner or origin line unknown, which was technically accurate, and I sent it to the Border Affairs office in Caldenver because the form required it. My supervisor flagged the hold for review by end of day. 26 years with no medical holds, and then one for a dragon. I wrote back explaining the circumstances and used careful bureaucratic language. I was not worried, exactly, but I was aware that not all outcomes ended with me still holding a registrar's stamp. The border authority arrived on the morning of day 9. Not the local office out of Caldenver. The Dreveth Border Authority, the old court office arm that handled draconic waypoint registrations and sovereign line disputes. 2 human liaison officers and 1 dragon I had no designation for, not a court bow shape, something older and quieter, her scales dark slate, her eye ridge carrying the weathered ridge growth of genuine age. They went into the pen ahead of me. The mother stood when the ancient one came in, her neck ridge up, and for a moment my hand found the gate post because I did not know what I was watching. Then the mother lowered her head, not all the way, not submission, something between acknowledgement and exhaustion, and the ancient one moved to look at the brand on her neck ridge. One of the liaison officers came to stand beside me while the other 2 were still in the pen. The brand, he said, was a clerical error. 43 years old, generated in a court record transfer that had misread a pardon notation as a permanent exile designation. The error had been identified 12 years ago. The corrected file had been sent to the wrong regional office and had sat there unactioned. The dragon in my pen was Vara, of the Outer Reach bloodline, a secondary line of the Dreveth court's own sovereign holding. She had been trying to cross the border to petition for correction for 9 weeks, he said. The exile brand blocked every official petition channel. The only avenue left to her under the old code was physical presence at a registered waypoint, repeated and logged. 3 refusals logged, he said, meeting my eyes. Then a humanitarian hold. Which triggered a formal review. Which triggered them. He paused. You followed protocol, he said, and then he said it again, as though he understood that I needed to hear it twice. You followed protocol, and you opened the gate. They registered Kessev as a Dreveth-sanctioned passage point that afternoon. It went into the ledger with the official designation stamp and a courier receipt I kept on file. I did not receive a title. I did not receive a commendation. I received a new column in the way station paperwork and a small printed card listing updated crossing protocols, which I laminated and hung on the gate post because weather gets into everything out here. Vara and the hatchling left with the authority party. She did not look back. The hatchling did, once, from where it was tucked against her healed and now moving left wing, and then it tucked its head under her jaw and was gone. That was in the autumn. In the late winter, 5 months after, she came through the gate again. No hatchling. No wound. No dust on her scales, which had gone back to their proper copper green, bright enough to catch the light off the Reach road. She walked through with the easy, unhurried stride of something that had every right to be wherever it was, and as she passed my gate post she turned her head and lowered it, once, briefly, the way you nod to someone who knows what you did and does not need you to explain it. Then she was through and down the road and gone. I logged the crossing. Species, draconic, Dreveth registered, Outer Reach line. Passage, authorized. Time, 7:14. I closed the log and went to make coffee and came back and sat at my desk, and I looked at the eastern gate in the early morning light, and I thought that 26 years was a long time to sit at the same post, and that there were worse things a man could do with them.